Welcome to Toastmasters Time, the show that has everybody talking. My name is Knox, and I'll be your host for this edition of Toastmasters Time. Now, like at a regular Toastmasters meeting, we will have 3 prepared speakers, and then we will evaluate them to help the speakers improve. Now, to do our evaluations, we have none other than our own Ashley Harkness. Ashley, what do we have in store for us today?
Well, Louis, first of all, it's good to be working with you again on Toastmaster Time. And today, we are privileged to have 3 exceptional speakers from a specialty club called Heart to Heart. I think we're going to be in for something very, very special.
Wow, I agree with you, Ashley. We are in store for a great show. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first guest, Jeanne Alford. Jeanne, welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you. How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great.
Now, I understand that you're a member of Heart to Heart. How long have you been a member?
I've been a member for about 2 years.
And what brought you to Toastmasters?
Well, I could tell you the official story that I was interested in Toastmasters and I found one that would fit. Or I could tell you the real story, and that's my friends kind of drugged me there.
Okay.
And once I got there, the people that I met was so great that I stuck it.
Now, what is one thing that you've learned since your time in Toastmasters?
I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I wanted to join because I wanted to find and refine my voice.
Wow. And how has this club helped you to do that?
I'm here. I'm not hiding.
That's fantastic. What will you be speaking about tonight?
I'm going to talk about reframing your personal story by using an author's secret weapon.
Reframing your personal story by using an author's secret weapon. Wow, that sounds very interesting. Are you ready to share your speech with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, sit here and get ready while I tell the audience about your goals and objectives. Okay?
Thanks.
Okay. Jeanne will be speaking from the Pathways program. She will use the category of presentation mastery. And under that project, her title is to connect with storytelling. She will use a story within a speech or give a speech that is a story. Jeanne Alford, Reframing Your Story the Author's Way, Jeanne Alford.
I'm going to start by making a logic jump, drawing a conclusion. You have a story to tell. Of course you do. We all do. In fact, we have millions of stories, little experiences that start with a beginning, a middle, and an end, the basic definition of a story. But as we grow up, we have a myriad of experiences that draw little conclusions on who we are today. And I want to talk a little today about how authors reframe stories and how you can use that to change your life. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret. It's a 4-letter word. Don't tell anybody. Okay, I'll tell you. It's edit. Now, for many of us, we believe the magic in being an author is letting the words go from your head, down your arms, and come out magically on the screen. And that is the beautiful part. That's the creative part that we get to do when we write. But the real work comes in the second phase, when we edit. Authors look at every single word, every single fact, every single little story within their writing to make sure that moves their story along. And when you use that technique for your own story, you get to change your story and move it along as well. For example, I was asked at an event why I wanted to be a public speaker. Now, for most of us, we know that the world's worst fear, the number one fear of people, is public speaking. But I'm choosing to become a public speaker. Why is that? And the answer was simple. I want to find my voice. Think about that. My background is communication. I've spent a career helping hundreds of thousands of executives tell their story. I've written for them. I've been a ghostwriter. I've had things appear in major national media. So why am I trying to find my voice? Well, the secret for me was to find out that I wasn't telling my story. I was telling theirs. So my voice was their voice. And in this new transition, I wanted to hear my voice. So I start to look at those stories that make me get constricted when I'm trying to speak and measure them. So one of those stories happened when I was a child. I'm the middle child of 7. Think about 7 kids around a table eating spaghetti and getting very loud. And I remember hearing my father boom out saying, "Nobody wants to hear from you." I took it to heart. As a child, I believed him. But when I took that story out as an adult and I looked at it, I can understand why he would have said it. As an adult, my perspective changes. And interestingly enough, just recently, I was in a car driving to an event with a number of friends, and I related that as we were talking about things our parents say. And my colleague sitting next to me started laughing, and she said, "Here you are in a car with a bunch of women, and we want to hear from you." So again, it was another way to reframe my story. We get to do this every day. It's simple. Remember the stories that you love. Remember the stories that you live. And remember the stories that you hide. Those are the ones with secrets. Now, why would you want to do that? Because we show up in the world based on those stories and those experiences. The second thing I want to tell you is to be confident. And you might ask, how do you do that? If I've been living with this since the day of dawn, how do I change that? Well, it's looking at those stories from a perspective that's new, and then owning it, stepping into it, understanding that those stories made the uniqueness of you. Because here's another secret. There's nobody in the world that has my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, my experiences, my education, my work life, my social life. Nobody has that unique combination, and the same is true for you. That makes us unique. So when we step into our confidence, we get to relate something important to the rest of the world. So 2 things I'd like to leave you with. Remember to be the author of your life. Reframe those stories using today's perspective. Understand how they make you who you are today. And number 2, step into your confidence. Own it. Those stories are important, maybe not as much to you, you think, but to the people around you, because they're going to learn from it. We all have stories to tell. We all have stories to live. And I, for one, am looking forward to hearing your story. Thank you.
Reframing your story. An author's way. What a powerful speech. Ashley, what did you think about Jeanne's speech?
Storytelling is one of the most important endeavors that we as humans do, for it brings us into the present from the past, and it can also put us into the future. Her story was a story of hope about refinding herself when the rest of her childhood world had been basically one step on her after another after another. As she related, when she was in the car with the other women and they said, "We want to hear from you," she began to reframe her story and to find herself. This is a basic and very important message that comes through with personal stories about hope, about living dreams, and not settling for what other people might think or do to you. Very hopeful. I was intrigued, looking for more from this.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Ashley. I think we all search for our own voice and look to find it. And now to share with us her voice, I'd like to introduce our second speaker, Carolyn CJ Jones. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Louis.
Welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you.
Now, Carolyn, you're also a part of Heart to Heart, which I understand is a specialty club, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about the club.
Oh, it's comprised of about 30 people, and we meet monthly. We have a real specialty in the types of speeches that people give. But we do follow, of course, the manuals and pathways.
Now, how long have you been a member?
For 4 years.
For 4 years. Now, tell me one of the most important things that you've learned during your time there.
The power of the pause.
The power of the pause. Will we hear about more of that when we hear your speech today?
You might.
What are you speaking about?
I'm speaking about gratitude.
Oh, gratitude. Now, has your involvement in Heart to Heart helped you in your professional life?
Definitely.
How so?
My speaking is more succinct, and I think that that is more professional.
And have you shared your work in Heart to Heart with other people by bringing them to the club?
I have.
Fantastic. Well, are you ready to give your speech?
I am.
Fantastic. So while you prepare to do that, I'm going to tell our viewers about your goals and objectives.
Okay.
Carolyn CJ Jones will be speaking from the Competent Communications Manual. Her project is to organize your speech. Her objectives: select an appropriate outline which allows the listeners to easily follow the speech and understand the speech. She wants to make her message clear and use supporting materials. Carolyn CJ Jones, singing a song. Carolyn CJ Jones.
Before I got sober, I was a pretty negative person. I couldn't see anything with appreciation. I wasn't grateful for anything. I was so wounded. I just couldn't, it was excruciating to hear about gratitude. Fast forward 18 years to present day, where I live in a state of gratitude and positivity. Whoa, how in the world did that happen? How did I go from this angry, bitter, blaming victim for 30 years, all over my childhood, drinking and drugging about it the whole time, to this person who is me? As a sober woman, I have the possibility of living in gratitude and positivity. And I want to share with you how that happened. It all started with forgiveness. That's what started it off, but it really got its going. It really took off when I discovered gratitude. Now, Fred Luskin is a PhD a PhD psychologist at Stanford, and he says that when we resent, we are doing three things. We are taking the offense personally, too personally. We are blaming the offender for our feelings, and we are telling a tale of woe, our grievance story. So let's look at these things. These are 3 tips that I want to give you to get beyond a resentment. Tip 1, let's explore that. Taking the offense too personally. 99.9% of the time, people are not thinking about you. They're worried about their own grievance story. I invite you to let go of your need to take it personally. The second thing is blaming the offender for your feelings, you can either continue to blame the offender, or you can look at your activities and your behavior, and that is the unenforceable rules that you have projected and placed on that other person. And they didn't fulfill it. You got angry, hence a resentment. So I invite you, instead of looking at the other to blame, look to yourself first. And finally, the third tip is to ask and answer 3 questions. 1, what is the positive that has come about because of this experience? 2, what is the lesson that I am learning? And 3, what can I be grateful for? When you ask and answer these 3 questions, you become inspiring and inspired. You give permission to the person who is struggling. You give permission to them to sing their song of a hero. I encourage you to live with gratitude in your life. It's a wonderful place to be. Why, one of the things that took me out with my drinking was an unrequited love. After 7 years in sobriety, I learned to be grateful for the unrequited love, because it pried me out of my marriage, which was an alcoholic marriage. It got me sober. It brought me to the forgiveness work I do today. And it brought me gratitude. It brought me a book that I'm writing today. So those are all the things that gratitude can bring to you. Just remember those 3 points. Don't take it too personally. I invite you not to blame the offender. Look within. And the third thing is ask and answer 3 questions so you can sing your song of a hero instead of telling a tale of woe. Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful speech. You know, Ashley, my mother used to say that having a resentment was like taking poison and waiting for somebody else to die. What did you think about Carolyn's speech?
The operant idea that kept coming through was of a survivor talking about the gratitude that she found in different places, in different ways, that made her life whole again after having suffered greatly from alcoholism, drugs, and other problems. The most important part, I think, in the organization of this speech is that when she comes toward the end, she gives us 3 separate and important calls to action that we can find for ourselves in our own lives when we're up against it, which happens to most people. Hopefully not as severe as it was for her for 18 years, but the point is, it's a message of hope. So this is what I carry away from me, that ending a speech with a call to action gives the audience the opportunity to reflect on themselves and say, I can sing my own song too.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Having an attitude of gratitude. And speaking of gratitude, I'm really pleased to introduce our 3rd speaker for the day. That is Suzanne Thibault. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
Welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you, and thank you
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am an animal communicator and emotional healer, and today I'll be talking about the animal talk awareness.
Fantastic. Now, I understand that you're a rather new member to Heart to Heart?
Yes, I joined in September of 2018.
And tell me about your experience of being a member of Heart to Heart.
I entered that club with very little confidence in public speaking. I was one of those shakers that was afraid to speak. But being in that club, surrounded by people who support you in a big way, has helped me to build confidence and learn how to speak from my heart and inspire people.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, I visited your club, and you guys have some dynamic speakers in Heart to Heart.
Yes, we do.
I assume that you've been able to use and parlay your experience into your professional life.
Yes, I think building confidence in public speaking carries over into your personal and professional life because you carry that confidence with you into other areas.
Absolutely. Now tell me about what you're going to be speaking about.
Today I'm talking about animals as our guiding angels in life and how they support us to see what might need nurturing inside of us.
Wow, and we always thought of ourselves as the nurturers. So
Yeah.
animals can actually nurture us?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, are you ready to give your speech?
Yes.
Fantastic. While you prepare for that, I'm going to tell the audience about your goals and objectives. Suzanne Thibault will be speaking from the Pathways program. Her specialty will be presentation mastery, and her project will be to evaluate and get feedback. Her objective is to give us a speech of purpose and present a speech and receive feedback on that speech. Suzanne Thibault, Animal Talk Awareness, Suzanne Thibault.
Some people talk to animals. Not many listen, though. That's the problem. Hi, I'm Suzanne Thibault, and that's my favorite quote from the book Winnie the Pooh. I believe lots of people do talk to animals, but they might not realize they can also listen. My dog Odie taught me to listen. Odie's a short-legged little Dachshund Terrier mix. When we rescued him as a puppy, he was hand-shy and very skittish. As he grew older, he grew bolder, and he began aggressively barking at everything, lunging at people and snarling. My husband and I were so frustrated with him, we didn't know what to do. We thought Odie was being a jerk. One day I was sitting on the couch meditating, and Odie was sleeping next to me. I began to have feelings of grief wash over me. Intuitively, I could see Odie as a puppy, and he was being kicked in the chest every time he barked. As an empath, I realized I was feeling Odie's emotional pain, and my tears started for him. As he shared his story with me, it helped me to better understand why he barked at everything. Odie barked at everything because he didn't feel safe. He didn't trust other human beings. He trusted us as his family members, but if we had anyone come over the house, he didn't trust them. So he would bark aggressively in defense to defend himself, all based in fear. And I realized that Odie wasn't being a jerk. He was living a life of fear. As an animal communicator and emotional healer, I've supported Odie to heal his wounds so he can heal his past and live a life in the present moment in joy and happiness. Because I was willing to hear his story and listen, it helped me to gain better understanding of why he barked at everything, and it changed my perspective in our relationship. And you can't stay frustrated with someone when you know their story and their truth. Animal communication is the tool that we can use to communicate with animals. It's a heart-to-heart conversation with animals, and you use your intuition to interpret the animal's messages. And it's a powerful tool to talk to animals because you can talk to them about problems you're having and find solutions. Animal guidance is body language communication. That's what Odie was showing us with his aggressive barking, was body language communication as animal guidance. And what Odie was doing was asking me to take a broader view of what was going on, not just stand there and get frustrated with him and think he was a jerk, but look at the bigger picture. And what animal guidance is asking us is to look inside ourselves and see what might need nurturing. And so what I realized was Odie was teaching me patience and tolerance and understanding. And I didn't even realize I needed to develop that better inside of myself. But he became my teacher in that way, and I was able to shift myself and my perceptions into a more positive state in our relationship with each other. Odie's gone through his healing process, and today he'll bark if someone comes over, but he trusts us now. And if we ask him to stop, he will stop. And that brings great joy to us to know that Odie could share his story, we could hear him, and he could heal and change his behavior. Animal communication and guidance is the way we can support our pets. They're also supporting us. Animal guidance being the tool that we can see and watch their behavior, it's a key. The key to watching how your animal is behaving and see how it might apply to your life. And then you take that information and ask yourself, what does it show me? So as an example, let's say your dog goes outside to do his business. He's starting to bark, he comes in, he won't come in because he's looking at you standing there staring at you and refusing to come in. You start to get frustrated. Instead of getting frustrated, ask yourself, my dog trying to show me? Most dogs that stand there when you call them in are teaching you patience. And as you look into the eyes of your beloved pet, you come to understand who you truly are. Because animals are angels in disguise, and they help you to tap into a part of your heart that you might not be able to reach yourself. And what if your pet could do that for you? Sometimes the best therapist has fur and 4 legs, and all you have to do is listen. Thank you.
What a great speech, Ashley. What did you think?
Are you an animal lover?
I am.
Okay, then in that case, this speech will resonate quite clearly with you, because what she is telling us is that animals are more than just some 4-legged thing wandering around the house eating our food, but in fact are part of our emotional life and our emotional understanding. She made some points about sympathy and kindness. It's pretty hard to be sympathetic with a dog that's barking at you, but the fact is she's saying, look, what is this all about? I know what my cat is doing at 4 o'clock in the morning when it's communicating with me. It's about getting up and feeding it.
Right.
And guess what? I do. And the cat has come to expect that. Well, this is a very important part, because when we listen to her speech, we're understanding you bring this life into your world. And there's a greater responsibility than just petting the cat or taking it to the vet to get shots.
Right.
I believe that's a very important announcement for us.
Right. A powerful speech and a powerful evening.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Well, that's our show. Thank you for joining us for Toastmasters Time. We tape our show in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you would like more information on our show, please visit our website at toastmasterstv.com. Now, our show is sponsored by District 57 Toastmasters. You can get more information on District 57 at d57tm.org. That's d57tm.org. And finally, if you would like to find a club in your area, please visit Toastmasters International at toastmasters.org. Toastmasters.org. We appreciate all the wonderful staff and volunteers at the Media Center in Palo Alto, California, where we tape our show. Thanks again to our great guests, Jeanne Alford, Carolyn CJ Jones, and Suzanne Thibault. That's all for today. Keep on talking.